All right, here we are. A little more Rocco bounce. I think everybody could use that. All right, here we are. Monday, July 15th, 2024. New all-time highs in the market, even given everything that happened in the weekend with former President Trump in Pennsylvania. We'll see what happened today because some of that did affect markets today. You'll see a massive move in crypto, and he is speaking at the Bitcoin conference. I believe that's next month or sometime soon. So he is an advocate for that. We'll see some other rates related moves potentially on, pretty much assuming a second presidency. Rates were, up today, depending upon where you were on the curve. But let's take a look at what exactly it was at the end of the day. I was curious to see what was going to be the headline in terms of markets today. And I'll tell you what it was, since we always write them unbiased. And here it is. Bitcoin plus 10% in your main BITO I'm using as the tracker here for today, ETF plus 10%. That's your big story. And the ARK and financials jumped 2%, which is a multiple sigma move. And we'll see what was going on, why in that. At first glance, I obviously know Tesla moved 1.8, but Kathy Wood had some stuff move in her favor, and financials with that big jump in rates, new all-time highs for the S&P 500, for financials, for healthcare, for the Dow and India, among many other indices. Financials, as I said, new all-time high. The Russell hit new 52-week high, so that broadening that we talked about is definitely happening. You're seeing it. And can you see the bottom there? Yes, we can. All right, cool. Energy ran as well. And to the downside, it was a rates-related type play in utilities moving lower. Nat gas got hit quite hard, 6.5%. We'll see what's setting up in there. TAN, very interestingly, was a big mover last week. There was some individual news that would not go so well. One of the main big constituents in that ETF announced that they were laying off workers, and they continued to go to new 52-week lows. So that was holding that down. Just very interesting. We'll look at the chart in TAN. We said it was going to be making a big move, and it is. And China had bad numbers, so China got sold off. Also, probably a little bit Trump-related that they're not besties. And EEM as a whole, Mexico had a bad day. I think they're trying to digest, everything that's happening, as well as, volatility barely moved today. It was up so very, very slightly, and we still cranked along, grinding to new all-time highs. And the best three absolute trades of the past 5 days, including today, long Bitcoin, because of the huge jump it had today, went from the loser list to the winner list. And long regional banks, that rise continuing up 12%, just as much as Bitcoin in the past 5 days. So don't sleep on that. And then long home construction, the third best area in the market, up 10%. So without further ado, let's look at the markets. So, por favor. That's me. Hold on one sec. Boopity, boopity, boopity. Bop? I'm looking for bop. Bop, bop, bop. All right. So this is an intraday chart of the S&Ps. We peaked at 11 a.m. Don't forget, earnings are in full throttle here. Financials kicked off on Friday with JP. And today there was more, I believe, Goldman and I think Bank of America and such as tomorrow, but there's a lot coming down the pike. And then Powell testified as well today around 12:30 p.m. He started speaking, usual, we're going to be data dependent, not going to talk about future meetings, et cetera, et cetera. And so after peaking at 11 a.m., after basically the euro close, we started getting a little bit weak, not being able to hold VWAP. And then we started trying to make a move towards the close, but wasn't really able to do it and hold. So it kind of looks like a little bit different. Zooming out, we're definitely, a little bit overdone. This exuberance, like really this, I don't say irrational exuberance, but this overbought, I'll say, technically speaking, has existed since June 12th. And we missed a little bit. I'm going to, full disclosure, we did miss a week and a half. Some of that was, a holiday, but this with no pullback, it just consolidated, right? And what's that tell you? And we still went higher. That's pretty bullish behavior. I'm not saying it's going to just continue to crank at this slope because this is extraordinary. But all along, I said from before, I expect the bullishness, this bullish regime, to end on or around July 17th, or at least to take a breather. And the target, I had said on July 2nd, I believe that was actually the date of the video right there too, was 555 or so for a target. We're at 561 now. Now I updated the time frame. I still get to 560, 565 absolute tops. So we are there, right? I don't want to upgrade that too many times. Here's the crazy part. I alluded to this last week. The sell-off's probably the next correction that's going to take us to the first week or so of August. barring some crazy volatility, which we're always exposed to, of course, as investors. I feel like I should be wearing glasses for that and say investors. Maybe I'll put glasses on Rocco. That's a good idea. I'll get nose glasses on Rocco. Let's write this stuff down. Just full of tickers on my sheet and stuff. Anyway, so we have a nasty sell-off. You're probably going to get to this 540 level. And I was just talking to with a friend today. 540, considering that might be the ugliest sell-off that you get in August during the conventions and everything, going into this volatile election year, it's pretty wild. The 540 is one of the most bullish. If you looked at January 1st, the most bullish sell-side analyst target for the S&P 500, 5,400 on the S&P, that was probably going to be as high as it went, right? And now that's probably going to be the sell-off that you get, the best sell-off you potentially get in the summer. So, and just to put numbers on it, 540, if that is in fact, if I say I get that right, and that is where the sell-off takes us to, and that's your buying opportunity, that was levels just first seen in June 12th. So you're going to give back 6 week or so consolidation before ramping up higher. If that's the case, this slope will be maintained. Anyway, so more to come and see. But as I said, I wouldn't chase this here. I'm always long. We're toppy right around 560, 565. That's what I had in terms of the time frame for an end date ending around this Wednesday for bullishness. And before we at least mean revert and base a little bit, we'll see what triggers it. That's it. All right, now let's get into the bell of the ball of the day. Bitto up 10% today. We've been talking about this, similar to like what happened with the Nexo when the bottom fell out. We're saying this is going to mean revert at least to the 21 EMA, which is sinking lower and lower. It's going to get there. It's going to get there. It's going to get there. Specifically on this Bitto, we're saying this is a very important line. This 200-day moving average at about 23 nickel, right around 23 even. We said it's going to try to make a move towards it. It galloped today from 20.2, all right, $20 and 20 cents to 22.20 today alone, all right. And we're going to see how Bitcoin trades overnight. There's also Ethereum ETF approval, I believe I read. This 200-day moving average is still good. We were talking about before about how you can have failures here under the 200-day, and it can last sometimes for as much as a month or so without it being a real tell. I think that's what you're going to get here. This is still rising quite well. You have a 52-week high inside of 6 months. Still has positive momentum, even though this is very ugly lower highs. You have a catalyst today in a way. The thing is, so you use a lot of energy to get to its 21-day exponential moving average, which is right here. I still think it's not done. I think it tries to make a move towards 23.05, which is another 85 cents or so. It'd be a nice move, about 4 or 5%. Make people think that maybe Bitcoin's on its way to new highs, past 73K. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is going to get tied right around 23 handle, maybe 24, because this is volatile. And it could always happen. But ultimately, I don't see it getting past absolutely 26. So a lot of congestion here. We'll see how it turns out. But Bitto, not only the best trade of the day, but the best trade of the past 5 days. Up 12.5% in the past 5 days. Pretty incredible. Second biggest mover today, ARK. ARK up 2%. Let's see what's going on this. It looks extended to me. Let me look a little closer. Yeah, I think we're going to come into a lot of charts like this when you're dealing with all-time highs across major indices. This thing looks tired around 47, yet it continues to chug. It's not going to – I mean, unless it goes up and away. But this has been – I think I'll ask a look at this and say, we've been basing for 3 months before it starts to chug higher. I don't loser status here in April, but the market had an ugly sell-off. This took a lot of it with the whole digestion of higher rates. All that being said, I'm trading the market in front of me here, and this looks like it's a little bit toppy, and this wants to mean revert to about 45, which would imply quite a fall of about $2.70 or so, $2.70. So that's all I have to say on that. Next, financials, which hit a new all-time high today. Also bell of the ball. That's what happens when you get JP Morgan crossing over, I think, 210 a share or something like that. This looks wow over here, but look at it peep its head over new all-time highs and a big candle, even though it's above the top band by about 40 cents or 1%. Now what? This looks extended. Financials don't run up and away. It's interesting that they're running right now with earnings, and they weren't cheap going in, so that's bullish. But I think this wants to spend a little bit of time around 41 double, which would imply a little bit of a comeback. Maybe that's a little bit too steep because that is levels first reached in March. Could be interesting. We're seeing a lot of basing here for this ETF, and we'll see if it holds up. Obviously, beautiful slope here on the rise 200 moving average. Just looks a little bit toppy here. Again, we had bullishness, like I said, from about a couple weeks ago. Overall in the market ending midweek for this week. So this kind of fills in that line. XLE up nicely today, up 1.5%. It's been hard to get love. Be very interesting. Lower highs here, almost similar to the Bitcoin chart. Interesting if you see, these underperformers, if they can base for a while from levels first reached in the spring and go forward. The only thing is, I don't think this is done. I don't think XLE is done. I think this actually wants to go to 93.5. This looks like you'll get a little bit of vol expansion, and I don't think it does. It changes the picture if it gets to 93.5. So actually, that looks very, very likely. All right, and then IWM, new 52-week highs. This thing was just a piece of crap. The small caps. I mean, we can look at the chart right here for the past 1 year. It's a 52-week highs today, but right here, not many people want to touch it. When the April sell-off happened, it was. Did we get to oversold on the RSI? We got very close, 32, so not quite. But, I mean, it was definitely a loser in October. And that sell-off on its way to new lows at 162. And here we are trading 217. Now what? It's funny. When it spent a lot of time here. So the trade, I'll tell you, the trade was around June 7th, right around the end of the first week here. After you had this basing, and it went down here, and you saw the rising 200 moving average. And after it had all this spacing, an easier trade, I guess, would have said buy the breakout. The problem is that happened in the last 3 days, and you would have caught a 7-point move. The better move if you had the duration in terms of you entered this, say, around options, June OpX, right around here, still trading below its averages, and you even could have dollar cost averages, spending all this time. And if you thought the Mag 7 that trade wasn't going to keep on going and there's going to be a broadening, you would have had this. And look at that, those blue waves expanding just because of how tightly coiled this was. So how much more can this go? The only thing is this was even bearing, taking that into consideration, I wanted to get to 210 would make a lot of sense. So I think this was a little bit overdone. And I think it gives back $7 over the next, I think it actually goes back to about 204. So that'd be a give back about $13. That's over the next 3 weeks. All right. Down moves. XLU hit hard today with the big jump in rates. Utility, 2.5% down. Let's see what's going on. There's been interesting parts of the market. This thing a lot of people loved going in mid-May. Now what? So this looks like, it had a very nice move to 72 a couple of days ago. 71.70, on July 12th. This looks like it wants to spend some time around 68. So I think this has a little bit more to go to the downside. Nat gas really hit hard today, down 6.7%. Let's see if it's time to roll put spreads into this again. If that's going to be a moneymaker. No, this looks to be quite already beat up. We talked about before if we thought it was going to take out its 52-week lows, which is 1387. That's funny because that's only like 60 cents away or so. And today it took quite a plunge. I think this wants to have a mean reversion to about 16. That is a heck of a jump. Basically be gaining everything it gave away today. But it looks a little bit overdone. I'm not going to participate here. Solar, interesting to me, this area always. I haven't traded a little bit, but I like to watch it. I might be putting something on. If it has a little jump, I might want to sell it. So not today, though. Down 6% today. Look at, again, the tag, how important the 200 moving average is to TAN here. It got here on Friday. The 200 moving average is 45 even. There's just a lot of things that are important about this, and it is descending. So it's going to be lower when we talk about it, next week. It's probably going to be 44.80 or something, given the momentum. This hit a 52-week low 2 weeks ago. Now what? I think this wants to get to, it looks like it's destined to get to 39.5. So a couple of different options trades that you can do with that. You can buy, depends on the volatility, how expensive this is. Obviously, after a 6% down move, going to be a lot more expensive today or tomorrow morning than they were yesterday on Friday. This looks like it wants to get to 39.5, though. And 39.5 would be, what is that, a nice 5% move or so. So Still juicing it. This is getting a lot of volatility though, so I'm expecting a high IV or implied vol to pay in this. So it'd be obviously a good thing to sell a leg against it. All right, China had bad news, I think, overnight, bad data, and obviously the whole Trump thing didn't help their fortunes, with potential tariffs raising and such. So KWeb, yeah, this looks like it had. That's a funny because I have another chart up on a different time frame, similar, basically explaining this, that it had a tag of its upper band after basically a rally going back from July 1st. Yep, from here to 27, all the way to its target at 29.5 or so, and then now what? So this already came down quite a bit in this was 3.5%, and then it was down on Friday. I think this has a little bit more to go, possibly as low as 26.85. I think it is going to go into the 200-day moving average and just buck it just a little bit below, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, KWeb can't shake. This one had been a loser and has tried to stage a comeback, and it has been holding since April 23rd. It's not great, but it is holding. All right, and then EEM. Let's take a the broader emerging markets here. What we think here. EEM. So yeah, this looks fantastic. 52-week high on Friday. We're talking about it now because it got hit on a multiple sigma level, down 1%. But here's the thing: this thing was overdone. This almost looks like a semis chart in a way. In the past, from here, I know it's up 10%, but this is the EEM, for goodness sakes. So a nice rally from the April lows, similar to our markets. But now what? Just looks a little bit overdone. I think this one needs a little bit of time over the next 2 weeks or so to rest around 43.25, and that potentially gives you another buying opportunity. All right, top 5 gainers of the past 5 days. No repeats, and it's an interesting, funny list on the loser side. But let's go on the buying, the gainer side first. Number 1, Bitto up 12.5% in the past week, but we already looked at the chart. Insane. The KRE, let's pull this up. The second best gainer, up 11.5%. So just in line. Let's take a look at this. So they're enjoying the higher rates today. We had some regionals announced on Friday, or the Bank of New York. This thing's super extended, like 3 bars now outside the band. That doesn't usually happen. Last time you saw that, it was on its way, to 52-week highs. Ironically, it is 40 cents away. So it can happen, and it could be the exact same story of what was told in December. If that's the case too, we've technically been basing for 7 months in this, and it could go higher. I actually don't. It's possible that could be a huge driver if you're long regional banks. Not a terrible area to look at. Wow. ITB, we did not look at this one yet. ITB, the third best area, up 10% in the past week. This thing continues. Today was flat. Today down 10 bips or so. It hit resistance. We're talking about the significant resistance it has at 108, 109, and I don't think it's just going to have a lot there. I think this wants to spend some time around 102. It didn't do it today. I think you're going to start to. I just think it wants to spend some time here. It's used up a lot of energy, and it's range bound under 109, which is it's at the ceiling. ARKK is the 4th best gainer, up 8% in the past week. I'm short this. That option expires this Friday. I'm actually going to take a close look at how to get short market. I don't think I'm going to roll this specific name anymore, although it's worked very, very well. Today was up 40 bips, but we're talking about it because it's up 8% in the past week. What to do here? So similar to when I said here, it hit a low, and it was going to hold this 23 level. And it rallied from there. So very similarly, I don't think it's going to tackle or tango with its 27.30 200-day moving average. I think it actually quite got to its upper band, this 25.70 level, and now it's going ready to make a move towards 24. So my position should be looking good, but I don't think it's going to happen specifically tomorrow or the day after. These things are for the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then IWM up 7.5%. That is insane. That's in the past 5 days. Sometimes that's a return for IWM in a whole calendar year. So you got it in 5 sessions. That is just straight kooky. And then this is funny. So I always do the top 5 gainers of the past 5 days and the top 5 losers of the past 5 days, but they have to be greater than 1%. I couldn't find more than 3 for the losers today. So that's doesn't really happen often. So it lets me know that things are very bullish. The signs are a little bit too bullish. We're going to have to start to come lower. Let's see what they are. So nat gas is the top loser, down 9% over the past 5 days. Much of it today, but down 6.5%. Oh, we already looked at this, so my bad. And then you would to sync all the way to the next one. The next loser is the Mag 7, down 1.5% over the past 7 days, or the past 5 days. Sorry, I can't talk today. I'm pulling a Biden. He's 190. Yeah, so Mag 7, we're looking for buying opportunities for this. July 10th, you had an all-time high in this. It basically hit 50. Today, up small, about 30 bips or so. We're talking about it because it's been a loser the past 5 days, and that's how hard it is to find shorts. They're selling that gas, but that's crapola, so continuation of a downtrend. Mag 7, I mean, you can't really say it's a loser considering it put in new all-time highs 5 days ago. And in terms of this, so what do I see? Yeah, this got way too hot. Way too hot. Like I said, this bullishness that started around mid-June has just gotten way too hot. So specifically for this ETF, it went from 43 to 48 in 4 weeks. So, you know, these Mag 7, these trees can't go straight to the sky with this AI trade all the time. All right, so they're going to have to get back. This looks like it wants to spend a little bit of time around 45. So I'd expect more get back. It might be ugly. This has a way of giving back like sharply. So I would expect some bearishness with this ETF down to like 46. I'm sorry, not quite 45. I would say closer to 46.40, right around there where this convergence is. But this it's just a little bit too bullish here. All right, and then lastly, the PDBC. I couldn't find anything further. I have to squeeze this in here. I actually don't really always look at the PDBC, but it's a good commodity basket. And that's been taking a licking, down 1.5%, equals the Mag 7 in the past 5 days. Today, it's down 60 bips. What do we see? I see potentially a little bit more downside if it wants to test its ultimate. It has really strong resistance here in a calculated fashion, if that makes sense, down at 1380. When I say a calculated fashion, it goes through Fibonacci retracements, moving averages, but it's always best to use your eyes. So then really, if I look at that, it's this level where we hit these lows in the first week of June, and that's at 1365. We'll see if it wants to go down there. All right, so the best three absolute trades of the past 5 days: Bito, long carry, which is the regional banks, and long construction banks. Long regional banks, and then long home construction. And Wednesday, don't know if I'm going to do a video because I will be, I think, at the Foo Fighters at Citi Field. So maybe we'll see you next time. Bye.